Hey guys, it's Hope here. The conversation my dad and I had on developing leaders was so good that we decided to divide it into 2 episodes. Stay tuned for the second half of this conversation, and without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome back to That's What They All Say, Conversations Across Generations.
So in this episode, we thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about something that my dad is extremely passionate about, so passionate about, in fact, that once he left his military career, he then left his corporate career to do this full time, and that is developing leaders. So Dad, tell us a little bit about what you do now.
Yeah, so I actually kind of have 2 jobs. One, I'm a full-time executive and leadership coach. And number 2, I'm also the CEO of my company, WeAlign Coaching. What we do is we help executives and leaders who are isolated in leadership. They're struggling with how to be better leaders, and they have conflict on their team. We do a lot of conflict resolution. Sometimes they're stuck working in their business, not on their business. We help people that have been promoted to higher levels of authority, and they're really struggling, and they're isolated, and they don't really have anyone to talk to.
Awesome. So how exactly do you solve these issues and help develop these leaders?
So we actually have quite a few tools in our toolkit. One of the tools that we love to use is the Clifton Strengths Assessment. We also will use that oftentimes with a team to help everyone kind of understand themselves, right? And then once everyone understands themselves with their assessment and with their personal coaching, then we'll bring the team together and we'll do what we call a team transformation, where we'll really get everyone together. And it can be really a powerful time where people end up appreciating each other for their differences and for the strengths that they don't have, and being appreciated for the strengths that they do have.
Awesome. So what exactly is the Clifton Strengths Assessment?
Yeah, so it was developed by a guy named Don Clifton. Eventually it was bought by Gallup. So, Gallup, the poll people, they do lots of polls and stuff.
Right.
It actually came from Don Clifton when he was a bombardier pilot in World War II. And when he got out after World War II, all the literature was really about how to fix people. It was about how to help someone get over something. And he kind of had this idea of, well, what happens if we focus on what is great about people, what people are really good at. And so he ended up doing a lot of studies. There's one that we like to use with our coaching clients. It's called the Nebraska Speed Reading Experiment, where it really hones in on this idea that we always find excellent performance in our natural talents. Whatever we're naturally good at, whenever we sort of double down on those and we work harder on those, we always see that's where we get excellent performance. And he really had started this 30-year journey of trying to discover, where do you get excellent performance? It eventually turned into an assessment. And they've done a lot of research and a lot of studies to try to make sure that they feel like this particular study, it's now called the Gallup Clifton Strengths Assessment because it's owned by Gallup. They put a lot of effort into making sure that it's very good, it's very robust. Every Fortune 500 company uses it to some degree. It's been taken over 34 million times now. And so there's a lot of people have taken it, and there's a lot of research behind it.
Awesome. So you talked about how the Gallup Clifton Strengths Assessment looks at somebody's strengths and what they're good at. How is that different from a personality test?
I would say, in a word, uniqueness. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So if you look at, say, the Myers-Briggs, right, I think there's 16 different personality types. First of all, I think any assessment is good. It'll give you a little bit of information, a little bit of if you kind of go through with someone who's qualified to kind of help you understand it, typically you're going to get something out of it.
Right.
So Myers-Briggs, I think there's 16 different types. I believe that the DISC assessment, there's 12 different types, and the Enneagram, there's I think 20 or so different types. And, one of the things that when I said uniqueness, it's because when you look at, if there's only 16 different types, right, then you're the same as a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have the same exact ISTJ, which is what I am, right? If you look at, say, the DISC assessment, I think there are 12 different profiles there. Because there's only 12 and the population is something like I don't know, 8 billion or something like that, right? You're going to be statistically the same as every person in Canada, the United States, and Mexico, because there's only so many. And we know that that's not true. Like, you are unique, you're different.
Yeah.
If you look at, say, the Enneagram, there's about 230 million people that would have the same one as you across the whole world. And when you look at that, then you would say, well, like the entire population of Brazil all have like the same exact Enneagram.
Yeah, but they're
but they're all not all the same, right? So what Clifton does is, because there's so many talents, there's 34 different talents, and order matters, right? Whether it's a number 1 or a number 10 or a number 12, where that talent is, it makes a big difference. And so when you look at just same top 5 as anyone, the odds of that happening are 1 in 33 million. So that means that there's probably about 10 people in the world that would have your exact top 5 in that order.
Only 10.
Only
as
10.
Opposed to like the personality tests where it's like...
Where millions of people have the same personality,
wow.
right? When you go to the top 10, which is what Gallup calls your signature talents, just your top 10, the likelihood is 1 in 443 trillion. And I've looked up multiple times how many people have ever lived on planet Earth, and I've gotten anywhere between, I think current estimate was like 167 billion or something like that. Mm-hmm. I've heard it as high as like a trillion, but 443 trillion. So that means it is unlikely that there has ever been anyone to have just the same top 10 as you.
Okay.
Ever. It's ever been in the world.
Wow.
So now when you look at the full 34,
so
right?
There are 34 strengths.
There's 34 strengths, the 34 talents. And, so because you're not just a product of what you're really good at, your top 10, your behavior is adjusted by what you're not good at, what drains you, right? What's at your bottom. So when you look at all 34 in order, the likelihood is 1 in 256 undecillion. Undecillion means 36 zeros. So like literally there is statistically impossible that there would ever be anyone that have the same exact 34 makeup as you do.
Wow.
And so that means you are unique. And we know that to be a fact, that you are uniquely Hope, I'm uniquely me. So that's one of the reasons that I feel like the Clifton Strengths Assessment is so powerful, because it really helps you unlock your uniqueness. Like, if your positivity is number 1 versus it being your number 34, that makes a huge difference in how you behave, what things you like, what things you don't like, what you're really good at. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the reasons I really like the Clifton Strengths Assessment, because it's such a powerful tool to help people understand. And so one of the things that I do is we kind of use strengths as kind of like sort of ground zero. It's sort of like the intro into our coaching a lot of times. Not always, but usually we like to use that to help people understand how they lead, what they like to do, and then that can really help them unlock, well, what are better ways to do what I'm doing? How can I lead out of who I uniquely am, right? This phrase that you hear a lot, authentic leadership. Everyone says, yeah, I want to be an authentic leader, right? Well, what does that mean? That means lead like yourself. But if you don't know yourself, how can you lead like yourself?
Right,
so I think that that's another reason why we love to use this tool, is because it really does unlock some of the things that you may intuitively know. Sometimes it's just giving words to something that you already know. And sometimes it's helping you understand things that you maybe didn't realize about yourself.
So to summarize what you said, the Clifton Strengths Assessment is set apart from the other personality types because a person's result of that Clifton Strengths Assessment is completely unique from anybody else's, whereas personality types, they can be the same.
Correct. You will not see anyone that has the same exact 34 order as you do. Statistically, it's not possible.
Wow. So we talked about how the Clifton Strengths Assessment is unique. What about your coaching firm? How is that unique from other coaching agencies?
The strengths assessment is only one part of really what we do at WeAlign Coaching. Oftentimes I kind of say it's sort of like almost like the gateway drug, right? It's the thing that we sort of start with because honestly, like as we've talked before, self-awareness is huge. If you read any book on emotional intelligence or EQ, whatever you want to call it, it almost always starts with self-awareness. I don't think there's a better tool than the Clifton Strengths Assessment to really start to gain some of that self-awareness, to really unpack what I'm really good at, what motivates me, what energizes me, what drains me, that type of thing. But we can go so much more deeper than just that. So we'll use that to help a team understand where there may be friction, because there are some talents that just naturally rub each other the wrong way. Right. One talent may be deliberative, likes to make slow decision. One person may have activator, likes to get moving, go fast, right? Well, those two people in the same room are going to frustrate each other. One's going to feel like they're being rushed. One's going to feel like they're being drugged down. And so there's just going to be natural conflict without even trying. In fact, the research says 89% of workers go to work every day, daily conflict. They experience conflict daily. 89% of that conflict, 49%, so almost basically half of all that conflict is directly attributable to not understanding each other. And so one of the things that we do with the strengths is we help you not only understand yourself, we'll help you understand your whole team. And so once you understand who you are, what motivates you, you start to then understand the rest of your team because you get to see their strengths. So then we'll bring people together and we'll do a team transformation where people can see why certain things may frustrate them about other people, why certain people click and why others maybe don't. Yeah. They have to work at it a little bit. Half of that conflict is going to be reduced simply by doing that, understanding each other. But we can then go so much deeper. We also like to go into the neuroscience, which is really like, why does my brain do what it does, right? Why am I'm wired to be relational, but there are things which may trigger me where I'm not going to be relational. I just want you to go away. I want a problem or a person to go away. I'm kind of like aggressively interrogating something or whatever it is. There are neurological reasons that you do that. And we can go into the brain science of the different brain levels and talk about why that is. How do you recognize it when it's happening? How do you come back from it? Right. So sometimes people get triggered. I mean, it can be like, they just have to walk away like next day, they're kind of ruined for the rest of the day. And that can be so unproductive. Whereas we can teach people that, hey, you can get triggered, you recognize you're getting triggered, and then there's a couple of techniques you can do that you can immediately kind of recenter yourself where you're still within what we call the window of tolerance. We can help teams do that. We can help individuals do that as well. And I think that's one of the things that really separates WeAlign Coaching aside is because some coaches do the neuroscience. There's a lot of strengths coaches out there, but I don't think there's any that do what we do, which is we take the strengths and that self-awareness, and then we help you apply it to the neuroscience of understanding yourself and understanding when you get triggered and how do you emotionally regulate yourself. And so I think that's one of the things that makes us unique and gives us just so many more tools in our toolkit than other coaching agencies have.
That's so fascinating. It's just like another added layer of learning how you can be a better leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this half of our conversation on developing leaders. See you next time.